When discussing major military powers, the same names almost always dominate the debate: the United States, China, Russia. But there is a European country that, quietly, continues to operate nuclear aircraft carriers, maintenance nuclear weapons fleets, real military operations on various continents, and invests heavily in cutting-edge warfare technology. This country is the France. In 2026, the French armed forces will not only exist on paper, they operate, fight, and project power. From Africa to the Indo-Pacific, from outer space to cyberspace, France maintains an active military presence where many countries only make speeches. But the question that really matters is straightforward. Is France still a leading military power in the world today? Can she act independently, without relying entirely on alliances? Is your army prepared for modern, high-intensity conflicts involving drones, missiles, electronic warfare, and nuclear deterrence? Or is its power being overestimated in a scenario dominated by superpowers? In this video, we're going to analyze France's true military weight in 2026 without propaganda and without exaggeration. What she can do, where she excels, and where her limits begin. Because, in today's world, military power isn't about who shouts the loudest. It's about who can fight and win when necessary. To understand the true military power of France in 2026, we need to start from the basics: how their forces are organized and how they think about war. And here is the first major French difference. France does not maintain symbolic armed forces. It maintains a complete military system capable of operating in virtually any type of modern conflict. Structure of the French Armed Forces. In 2026, the French Armed Forces are structured into 5 major integrated components: Land Army, Armée de Terre; National Navy, Marine Nationale; Air and Space Force; Cyber Command; Space Command. This model guarantees something rare among European countries: multi-domain combat capability, operating simultaneously on land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace. A professional and highly trained army. The French army has approximately 120,000 active military personnel, all professionals. There is no mandatory conscription. This means better trained, more motivated troops, ready for immediate deployment. French doctrine prioritizes rapid mobility, modular units, decentralized command, tactical initiative on the battlefield. Officers and non-commissioned officers have autonomy to act, something essential in modern warfare. Expeditionary army, small, fast, and lethal. France is preparing for real wars, not military parades. Its central concept is that of expeditionary force, relatively small units, but capable of being rapidly deployed to any region of the world. This has been tested repeatedly on Africa, Sahel, Middle East, counter-terrorism operations. Few European countries have this level of continuous practical experience. Combat doctrine, intensity, technology, and realism. France is preparing for intensity conflicts, not just asymmetrical wars. His doctrine combines precision fire, electronic warfare, reconnaissance drones, full integration between land, air, and naval forces. By 2026, French brigades will operate connected to satellites, drones, and digital command and control systems. The French soldier does not fight alone. He is part of a combat network. Constant modernization. Programs like CORPO, and they completely modernize the army, introducing modern armored vehicles, digital battle systems, greater situational awareness. This dramatically increases lethality, even with fewer troops. The key point of the block. French military power lies not in gigantic numbers, but in organization, doctrine, and real experience. France doesn't try to be everything to everyone. She prepares to act quickly, with precise force and clear objectives. Air power, technology, and nuclear deterrence. If there is one area where France truly excels on the global military stage, it is in air power combined with cutting-edge technology and nuclear deterrence. In 2026, this set remains the central pillar of French strategic autonomy. Rafale, the heart of French air power. The fighter jet d'assaut Rafale is the backbone of the French Air Force and Navy. By 2026, it operates in highly modernized versions, with state-of-the-art AESA radars, advanced electronic warfare sensors, full air-to-air, air-to-ground, and anti-ship combat capability. Integration with drones and satellites. The Rafale is not just an airplane, it's a complete war platform, capable of acting alone or as the leader of complex attack packages. Furthermore, it is one of the few fighter jets in the world certified for nuclear missions. Airborne aviation, an extremely select club. France is part of a very rare group of countries that operate fighter aviation from a nuclear aircraft carrier. The Charles de Gaulle allows projection of power far from French territory. Continuous operations for months. Immediate air support to ground and naval forces. By 2026, its successor is already in advanced planning stages, ensuring the continuity of this capability for decades. Nuclear deterrence, the ultimate shield. France is one of the few independent nuclear powers off the planet. She maintains a clear doctrine: nuclear weapons exist to prevent war, not to win it. Their deterrent strategy is based on two main pillars. Nuclear submarines launching ballistic missiles constantly on patrol. Nuclear weapons carried by Rafale fighter jets. This ensures the ability to retaliate even in the event of a surprise attack. For any opponent, the message is unequivocal: a direct attack against France would have consequences existential. Technology, space, and modern warfare. In 2026, France will invest heavily in military observation and communication satellites, artificial intelligence applied to data analysis, armed and reconnaissance drones, electronic warfare and cyber defense. The country understands that the modern battlefield begins long before the first shot, in space and in cyberspace. Limits of French air power. Even with all this sophistication, there are limits. Fleet smaller than that of superpowers. High operating cost. Dependence on allies for prolonged campaigns. But this is not a miscalculation, it is a conscious strategic choice. The key point of the block. French air power in 2026 is not about quantity. Search control, precision, and absolute deterrence. With advanced technology and nuclear weapons, France guarantees something essential. No one can ignore it in a high-intensity conflict. Navy, global projection, and real combat capability. When it comes to projecting power beyond their own borders, few European countries come close to what French Navy is capable of doing so. In 2026, it remains one of the naval forces the most complete, experienced, and globalized in the world. A truly global navy. France is not just a European country, it is a global maritime power by necessity. Thanks to their overseas territories with its fleets spread across the Caribbean, South Atlantic, Indian Ocean, and Pacific Ocean, France needs to maintain a constant naval presence in virtually all of them. This forces the French Navy to operate in long distances, hostile environments, multiple theaters simultaneously. Few navies in the world do this routinely. Nuclear aircraft carrier, immediate projection of power. The Charles de Gaulle is the center of French naval capability. As a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, it offers months of autonomy without refueling, continuous air operations, projection of political and military power. Wherever Charles de Gaulle appears, France becomes a decisive actor. In 2026, this capability remains a huge advantage, while the next French aircraft carrier progresses in planning. Submarines, the invisible arm. France maintains a highly sophisticated fleet of nuclear attack submarines and strategic submarines. They are used for aircraft carrier escort, intelligence gathering, stealth attack, nuclear deterrence. These submarines operate silently, ensuring that France can act without being seen if necessary. Modern frigates and real combat. French frigates are designed for modern warfare, air defense, anti-submarine warfare, precision attacks. They operate integrated with satellites, airplanes, and drones, forming a highly lethal naval network. Furthermore, the French Navy possesses something that many countries do not have: real combat experience and continuous patrolling. Naval limitations. Even with all this capability, there are limits. Relatively small fleet. Need to prioritize strategic areas. High operating cost. Therefore, France operates with a focus on quality, not quantity. The French Navy in 2026 is not designed to dominate the world's oceans. It exists to guarantee presence, deterrence, and immediate response where French interests are at stake. This makes France one of the few nations capable of to act globally using one's own resources. Limitations, alliances, and the true weight of France in 2026. After analyzing France's air, naval, land, and nuclear power, we arrive at the most important and most honest moment of the discussion. What are France's actual borders in 2026? And more than that, how far can she go on her own? Structural limitations. High power, but not infinite. France is an advanced military power, but it is not a superpower. Its main limitations are clear. Relatively small effective. High military budget for Europe, but limited globally. Difficulty in sustaining long and intense conflicts without external support. This means that France can act fast, act far, but not sustaining large-scale wars alone for very long. She wins because quality, technology, and doctrine, not because of the masses. The cost of sophistication. Maintaining modern forces is expensive. Next-generation fighter jets. Nuclear submarines. Aircraft carrier. Precision weapons. Each operation requires careful planning. Every mistake has political and financial consequences. France cannot afford prolonged and exhausting wars like the traditional superpowers. Alliances, the true force multiplier. This is where the decisive factor comes in, the alliances. France is central member of NATO, leading military power within the European Union, strategic partner of the United States, the United Kingdom, and regional allies. When acting together, the French power multiplies. She often leads European missions, joint operations in the Middle East, stabilization actions in Africa. France is strong on its own. With allies, she becomes extremely dangerous. European Union military leadership in Europe. In 2026, France will be the main independent military power of the European Union, the only nuclear power in the EU. Reference in the defense industry. This gives Paris political and strategic weight, much larger than its population size would suggest. In practice, without France, Europe loses real combat capability. The true role of France in 2026. France does not seek to dominate the world. She is looking for strategic autonomy, independent decision-making capacity, power to protect its global interests. It is the country that it arrives quickly, decides quickly, acts with precision, but choose with great care where to fight. In 2026, France is not a military superpower in the classic sense. She is something different, and perhaps more dangerous. A mature, technologically advanced, experienced military power that is politically aware of its own power. And that brings us to the video's final question. Is France still a first-rate military power in 2026? After analyzing each pillar of French military power, army, air force, navy, technology, nuclear deterrence, and alliances, the final answer is clear and direct. France is not a global military superpower, but it is one of the most complete, reliable, and lethal military powers in the world by 2026. She doesn't win through sheer quantity. She wins because quality, for the real combat experience and by ability to make quick decisions. France can. Projecting power on any continent. To operate in the air, at sea, on land, in space and in cyberspace. Responding to crises in days, not months. Deter enemies with their own nuclear weapons. Few countries in the world have this complete set of capabilities. At the same time, Paris knows exactly where are your limits. She chooses her battles, avoids prolonged conflicts, and prefers to lead coalitions instead of acting in isolation. In 2026, France will be the central military power of Europe, the backbone of European defense, a globally respected and feared actor. So the correct question is not whether France is a superpower in the style of the United States or China. The right question is this: how many countries in the world can do everything that France does, with such autonomy, technology, and precision? The answer is simple: very few. And that makes France, in 2026, a first-rate military power, smaller in scale, but enormous in impact.